Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Common64. How you guys all doing today? I'm back with another video, and for this video, I'm going to be talking about my thoughts on Starfox, the recent Starfox game that's coming out pretty soon, and why it's a remake of Starfox 64. Such. First, I'm going to be giving out my thoughts about the game, and then I'm going to talk about why it's a remake, and why they keep remaking it. Starfox 64. Well, first off, the game, the direct was like a couple days ago. I think last week, like somewhere a couple days ago. But to be honest, I think the game looks pretty good. It was shown off in the Nintendo Direct. The game looks pretty good. The graphics are amazing. The animation is beautiful, realistic art style. It's great. The game modes are cool. We got, the R-Wing space battle, air battles, Landmaster, and like that submarine battle, everything about the game looks kind of cool, and it's coming out for Nintendo Switch too. But the only thing that I am not a fan of the game, and I think a lot of people agree with me, I'm on the same boat with a lot of people, we all can agree that the character designs look freaking awful. Terrible. They really do. They look ugly. I'm really sorry. They look garbage. They really do. They look so freaking bad. They look so... It's like they're too realistic, I'm sorry, but the animations kind of look a bit crap in a way. But it's just that... It's like the characters, they just look off. They just look so terrible. The animations just... The character designs are just... Oh my god. The characters, they're going for this realistic art style, and to be honest, it just looks bad. I did hear that it was supposed to be like a reference to like the puppets, Starfox puppets that they had, something like that, from what I heard. But honestly, they just look bad. They look like like Fox looks like he's an old man. Honestly, like he looks like he's hitting 70. And like something like this, Well, let me see. I'm not sure if I'm doing it right, but like, you see how he has my head's like this. That's pretty much what it kind of feels like. What Fox kind of looks like in a way. I'm sorry, but these designs are just bad. They really are, But if you like the designs, cool. More power to you, but. I don't see many people defending these designs, They do look bad. Like the characters, their feet are just like, Fox and Falco, their feet are like, it's like they have straight up horse legs, basically. Or those kind of animals, like, those animal legs, Like, yeah, I am not a fan of these designs, Yeah, again, Fox looks like he's an old man, like this. I wonder if the characters probably have trouble walking or something, But aside from that, the gameplay looks pretty cool, and all the characters, they have their personalities, Fox is the craziest leader that he always is. Falco is still a bit of a douche like he always is. Like, get your own target, Fox. Slippy, he's fine, and Peppy, he's still the wise old mentor. The characters, they seem to be themselves. What we're seeing. But I can just not get over the character designs. I really can't. These designs are pretty much on the same level as the original Sonic movie designs. Probably close, somewhere on par with that, I don't know, like, these designs, they just look like, one of those weird, realistic fan images you see people make, online, on DeviantArt and such, like you try to make, you try to make a realistic Sonic the Hedgehog, take like a live action an actual animal and tried to make the animal look exactly like the fictional character. That's what they felt like what they did with the Starfox characters. And heck, I remember I seen something like this, like I think it's not just with the Sonic characters, but also with a Pokemon. Trying to make Pokemon look somewhat a bit realistic in a way. And I think I've seen this with others. But oh my God, Star Fox designs are just sorry, my bad. They should have went with the movie design from from the Super Mario Bros. Galaxy movie. Like it's kind of they should have gave Fox. They should have gave him his appearance a design similar to his appearance in the Super Mario Galaxy movie. Like they could have easily just done that. Donkey Kong, his new design is pretty much somewhat based off his appearance in the Mario Brothers movie. It's a little inspired a little bit. The eyes and such. So why couldn't they do the same for Fox? Like they could have easily done that for Fox. Like think about it. Like why couldn't they go with his movie design or make a design based off that? They could have gone with that. Like it was just right there. Companies don't tend to think sometimes. I don't know. That's just me. But overall, this isn't really going to ruin me and people. It's not really going to ruin our. I don't think it's going to ruin our excitement, enjoyment of the game. We're still going to enjoy the game, and we're going to see more cutscenes and stuff like that, and more character personalities and such, character interactions. That's cool. But the character designs, they're not great. Sure, they probably might grow on me. They probably might grow on us as we play the game and get used to it, seeing more and more of it. But so far, I am not digging it. Yeah. Even James McCloud, Fox's father. Well, James and Fox pretty much look exactly alike. Yeah, Fox and James. There's no difference between them. James, the only difference is he just wears sunglasses. At least it's from what I've seen. Yeah. Not the same James from F-Zero, a different James. Not the same James McCloud from F-Zero, a different James. If Star Fox and Zero can't be connected even more enough, I guess. But overall, Star Fox, still looking forward to the game. Character designs, not my cup of tea. No, nobody's cup of tea. Alright, now I'm gonna talk about why the game is pretty much just a remake of Star Fox 64. I didn't think it was at first, but then I found out later on, so they mentioned it. I thought it was gonna be like a rebranding. Kind of like how, Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom are somewhat a rebranding of Zelda with new appearance, new designs, stuff like that. And I think Metroid was probably going to go through the same thing with Metroid Dread. But that's just me. I don't really know. But it turns out that it's not like that. It's basically a full-on remake. Wow. I think I heard, a lot of people are probably kind of disappointed about this. I am kind of him too, because this is pretty much what basically the third Star Fox 64 remake. The first was Star Fox 64 3D, then Star Fox Zero, which I did not know was a remake of Star Fox 64. I had no idea. I did not know. And now we have this new Star Fox game for Switch 2, just simply called Star Fox. I mean, they could at least give it a title or something instead of just calling it Star Fox. So, is this Star Fox 64 remake, coming to the Switch 2, Nintendo Switch 2? Is it going to be like a new start, a reboot of the franchise, a restarting, retelling? Like how Mortal Kombat 9 kind of somewhat was for the Mortal Kombat franchise in a way. Well, Star Fox, no, not like go back in time and restart just timeline or something. No, it's just that like a new game just starts a new universe, new timeline, something new with the franchise, something like that. Is Star Fox, this new Star Fox game, supposed to be that? Really? We don't know, but yeah, a lot of people are probably getting tired of seeing Star Fox 64 get a remake, and to be honest, I agree, and it is kind of getting tiresome because it's essentially the same game. That's the thing. Star Fox 64, Star Fox 64 3D is exactly the same as Star Fox 64. You know, it's just that the character models are more polished and stuff. You know, everything is the same for same, beat by beat. I remember playing Starfox 64 3D. Starfox 64, I played a little bit of it. The demo that came with Super Smash Bros. Brawl, those mini games, those NES, these more mini games, those kind of things. You play them for like a couple seconds and that's it. Yeah, those are where I got. That's where I got to play Starfox 64. I didn't play it fully, but just a little bit of it. But I got to play Starfox 64 3D, and it's basically the exact same, just like a modern version. Kind of like how Super Mario Brothers 64 DS is pretty much like a modern version of Super Mario Brothers 64. Super Mario 64, you know? Something like that. Like, so Star Fox 64 3D was basically to Star Fox 64 what Super Mario Brothers 64 DS was to Super Mario Brothers 64, you know? Console game and then gets like a handheld port. But, you know, Super Mario Brothers 64 DS did some different things, having other characters playable, and I think Star Fox 64 3D was just straight up a carbon copy of Star Fox 64. It's been a while since I played 64 3D, so yeah, don't remember it like too much. But you know, it is kind of getting tiring to see Star Fox 64 get remake. You know, because the truth is, you can only remake a game so many times to where the point the fandom, the people who like the franchise are just probably gonna get tired. Tired, you know. And but this right here does to kind of lead me to think like why one of the reasons why they keep remaking the game, remaking Star Fox 64, and I think it's for multiple reasons. There are basically two main reasons I think. One is, but I think this is pretty much obvious that people think about this. One is obvious because Star Fox 64 is pretty much the only successful, was pretty much somewhat the last successful Star Fox game. You know, Star Fox 64 was the last game that the fans really liked. You know, Star Fox Adventure, I think it is a good game, but while that game pretty much kind of divided the fandom because it was totally different. You know, it wasn't a Star Fox game. It was pretty much a Legend of Zelda game. Yeah, it was kind of like a Zelda clone, basically. Yeah, you know, and yeah, we all know the story. You know, it originally supposed to be a game called Dinosaur Planet, and it was going to be released for on the Nintendo 64. And now that game has been leaked in its entirety online. But then they decided to make it a Star Fox game, you know, and I guess that did kind of hurt both Star Fox and even Dinosaur Planet in a way, because now Star Fox Adventures just kind of feels like that kind of the odd one out. It feels like that awkward middle child that's different from the rest, from its predecessors and its successors. You know, Star Fox Adventures feels like it's in like somewhat of a similar boat as Comrade Hibiki. Now, Comrade Hibiki, you know, wasn't originally supposed to be a part of the Comrade franchise. It wasn't going to be a Comrade series at all. In early pre-production, you know, it wasn't going to be a Comrade franchise at all. It was going to be, you know, a totally different Tokusatsu franchise. But I think later on, in the last minute, you know, they decided to make it a Comrade franchise mainly for market purposes. So Hibiki is pretty much different from all the other Comrade franchises, from successors and from its predecessors and its successors. You know, Comrade Hibiki just, you know, for the most part didn't really feel like a Comrade show. It felt like a totally different Tokusatsu show in general. You know, it was different from, you know, its predecessors, Comrade Blade, you know, Fies, Ryuki, so on, and even successors, you know, Comrade Kabuto, Comrade Deno, Comrade Kiva, so Decade, you know, Double, you know. So yeah, Hibiki was kind of in a similar vein as, you know, Star Fox 64, where it's that one thing that's pretty much different from everything else. It's a part of this group, but it's different from everyone else in the group, you know, the ones that came before it and ones that came after it. You know, it's yeah that awkward middle child. The black sheep. Yeah, and yeah. So Star Fox is kind of looked at as the black sheep of the Star Fox franchise. Like and knowing that the fact that it was originally supposed to be something else is pretty much makes sense, and you seem to understand. And like back with Comrade Hibiki, like knowing how that was really supposed to be a Comrade franchise, there's going to be a different Tokusatsu, like maybe like a new Tokusatsu franchise that they were going to do, but it wasn't going to happen. And that's one of the reasons why I kind of theorized that Comrade Blade was originally supposed to be the final Comrade installment, because they said that there was going to be no Comrade series in 2005, and I guess that makes sense. And I guess again, knowing that Hibiki wasn't going to be a Rider series, this whole thing kind of makes sense. But that was, and also, but that's just a theory I have, and also that the fact that even before Comrade Blade, there have been reports saying that Toei was planning on ending Comrade much earlier. First they tried to end it with Comrade and Agito, but then 9/11 happened, and then they made Comrade Yuki and so on and so forth. They said they were going to keep Comrade's revival short. So it's kind of interesting to know that there's this thing that was going to be totally different, was going to be a part of this franchise, so it was going to be something different, but end up becoming a part of this franchise. But knowing that Dinosaur King Planet was going to be his own thing. I think I said Dinosaur King earlier. I don't know. I'm sorry. I meant to say Dinosaur Planet. Yeah, I think I mentioned Dinosaur Planet. Sorry, I'm just all over the place. I'm so sorry. But knowing that Dinosaur Planet was originally going to be its own thing and no relation to Star Fox as a whole, does make you wonder. What if Dinosaur Planet was released and became its own thing, Star. It does kind of make you wonder, So yeah, in a way, Star Fox Adventure just kind of seems to be the black sheep of the franchise. Now, I don't know how well the game did. I assume the game did extremely well, but there are some people that don't like it that much because they say it's a Zelda clone, it's a Zelda knockoff, which is, yeah, it basically is. But, there are a lot of games that are inspired by their games. Well, Star Fox 6 Adventures was just backing off, was just being connected from Dinosaur Planet, which probably some people could look at Dinosaur Planet as a Zelda knockoff, Zelda clone, a Zelda ripoff, or a Zelda wannabe or something like that. But it's probably just a game that's inspired by Zelda, Some franchises can be inspired by other franchises. Like all these other Smash Bros. Clones or platform fighters, some people look at them as Smash Bros. Ripoffs. But then again, there are games just inspired by franchise, inspired by Smash Bros. And just trying to copy the formula that Smash Bros. Does. So if the formula works for Smash Bros., then maybe it can work for them as well. Just saying, And like how we got Power Rangers, like shows, other Tokusatsu adaptations, VR Troopers, Master Rider Beetleborgs, and even, Pokemon, with Digimon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Metabots, Monster Ranchers, Blade, Bakugan, Yokai Watch, Dragon Dive, so on and so forth, And even Ninja Turtles with Street Sharks, Extreme Dinosaurs, Bicomics from Mars, Samurai Pizza Cats, even though I think Samurai Pizza Cats was totally different, General SWAT Cats, Road Rovers, you got what I'm saying. So yeah, Dinosaur Planet was probably just inspired by Zelda. That's probably what it was, So, Star Fox 64. Wait. No, wait. What was I thinking about? Oh, yeah, Star Fox Adventures. I'm sorry. Yeah, Star Fox Adventures, it's kind of sad. It's that awkward middle child within the group, I don't know how well the game was received, but I think it was received well, and I think it was one of GameCube's Player's Choice, something like that. Best-selling ones, somewhere. And as for Star Fox Assault, Star Fox Assault, I haven't played that game, but I've seen gameplay, and it does look pretty cool. I don't know how well that game did. And Star Fox Command, I haven't played that game either, but I have heard some mixed things about that game, and I hear that's the game that kind of killed the franchise. That one last game that kind of killed the franchise. Kind of like how Bloody Roar 4 killed the Bloody Roar franchise. So everything else after Star Fox 64 unfortunately just wasn't well received, from what I heard, And I think maybe it's because they try to do something different, and that kind of divide the fandom. And this is going to lead to another reason why I think it's a Star Fox remake. You know, it just kind of felt like that when they try to do something different, that people aren't happy. But that's just from what it just kind of seems. I mean, Star Fox Assault did something different, and I heard that not many people liked some of the differences they made in Star Fox Assault. Yeah, Star Fox Assault, that's what I meant to say. Like, Star Fox Assault, did some different things, and some people just didn't like it. That's from what I heard. But, it is kind of bummer that, Star Fox, this new Star Fox game isn't, like, something different, like, a new Star Fox, instead of just a plain old remake of Star Fox 64. I mean, if we want to play Star Fox 64, we can, like, just either find it online somewhere, or play it online, or if it is online, if it's on Nintendo Online or somewhere, or just track down a copy of Star Fox 64 3D and bust out on Nintendo 3DS or 2DS or whatever you have. That's what I think. Star Fox Adventures, I did enjoy the game. I do remember playing it a lot. I bought it back in the summer of 2007, and I actually loved the game. I actually liked it. I didn't mind too much of the differences because I was different back then. But now I can understand. And it does feel completely out of place with the Star Fox lore. But Star Fox Adventures is not a bad game, but it's just that awkward game that's just different from the rest. Once again, like I said, that awkward middle child. And here's another reason why I think another reason why I think Star Fox 60, this new Star Fox game was just a remake. Why they keep remaking Star Fox 64? Then this is just me. This is just my opinion. This is what I think. I just think Nintendo probably just doesn't know where else to take the franchise. That's one of the things I think. Because sure, they could probably do a lot more different things, but maybe they're just struggling to think about what else they can do with the franchise, like where else they can take it, And yeah, like they could try to do something new, do something different, but if they do something different, then just people are not gonna like it, But I guess it is okay to do something different with a franchise, because if you do the same old thing over and over and over and over and over again, it's gonna get stale and boring, and people are gonna lose interest and not gonna want anything to do with it anymore. Like, sure, there are gonna be those people that are not gonna like if the franchise do different things, but sometimes doing different things is good in the long run. It kind of helps improve the franchise, helps it does better. Like with the Super Mario Bros. Franchise, I think it'd be kind of cool to have the Mario characters start talking a little bit more and do more talking. Like let's hear actual voice acting come one of the characters. That could help the franchise progress and evolve and be somewhat of a better franchise. And be make people get more enjoyment out of it, because it is going to get frustrating to see the same thing over and over again, But that's just what I think. I just think that maybe Nintendo probably doesn't know where else to take the Star Fox franchise. And maybe that's the same thing with F-Zero, they don't know where else to take that franchise. That's pretty much why that franchise is probably in limbo as well. They don't know where else to take these franchises, what else they can do with them, could they do, what kind of new things they can do with them, what can they do something different? But then maybe they probably have that fear, if they do something different, that fans are not going to appreciate it and they're not going to like it, And I guess that's pretty much why we keep getting remakes of Star Fox 64, because all the other Star Fox games after Star Fox 64, Star Fox Adventures, Star Fox Assault, and Star Fox Command, unfortunately, they weren't well received. They did something different and the fans didn't like it. Well, Star Fox Adventure, I guess that was a different case, because because it didn't feel too much like a traditional Star Fox game. Star Fox Assault, I heard that some people weren't really a fan of some of the things they did with the game, But Star Fox Assault did do different things, They didn't have the just no aerospace, R-wing battles, or just no land battles. they sometimes even have the characters on foot. Like you play as Fox and you go shoot around. Like a shooter, like an anthropomorphic shooter with anthropomorphic characters, kind of like a kid-friendly version of it. And another cool thing that I think that they did was have the characters like hang on R wings and shoot in the air. You play a Starfox character and like you shoot in the air. So I think that those were one of the cool things that Starfox Assault did. Now I never played Starfox Assault. I also don't know. I seen some cutscenes and a few gameplay, but not too much. I never played it. I don't even know. Do they even have that submarine battle in the sea battle in Starfox Assault? I know they have the air and land battles. Sea with that Starfox sub, whatever it's called. And Star Fox Zero, I never played that game. I haven't been to. I was thinking about it, but I heard that game was awful, and a lot of people hated it because they didn't like the controls and such. Well, I did think that game did something different, like having the R-Wing become a walker. So, but it does kind of feel like if the franchise does do something different, people are not gonna like it. But Nintendo, they probably are just doing another remake because, well, they probably don't know where else they can take the franchise. What else they can do with it. How they can improve with it and such. Probably just gonna go back to doing the same old. But that's just the kind of the theory that I have. Maybe it's probably it, or maybe they just, just like making remakes. I mean, I don't want to say Nintendo's being lazy or anything. Just, that's just the way it kind of seems to be. I mean, but overall, Star Fox, the new Star Fox game for Nintendo Switch 2, definitely looking forward to it. Unfortunately, I don't have a Switch 2, so I have no way of playing it. I don't know when I'm going to get a Switch 2, probably years later, somewhere down the line, if I can find, like, a cheap copy, find one for dirt cheap, But knowing that in September that things are going to get super expensive, Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be like close to $500 or $5 total release. I'm not looking forward to that. This generation of gaming, games are cool, but prices for games and stuff like that, consoles, games, and like digital, not a fan. Kind of miss the old days where games weren't this crazy expensive. They were much cheaper. But yeah, the PS3, the PlayStation 3 was like $600 when it first came out. So, guess even back then it wasn't perfect. Oh yeah, no, I gotta wrap up soon because my ride's gonna be coming soon. So yeah, that's it for this video. I hope you guys liked it. You enjoyed it. What are your thoughts on everything that I said? Feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You're looking for a new Star Fox game, and what are the reasons why you think it's just a remake of They keep remaking Star Fox 64, and also give your thoughts on the character designs. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. What else do I have anything to say? Oh yeah, I wanted to say Star Fox Adventure. Even when Star Fox Assault went back to form, it still didn't seem to do well. I think Star Fox Assault did well. I think I forgot to mention that. And kind of like how back to Comrade, like how when Comrade went back to form, like after Comrade he with Comrade Kabuto. I think it did a little bit better, but not too much. I think that maybe that was the case with Star Fox Assault. I forgot. I wanted to mention that earlier. Yeah, you have this thing that's different from the rest. Its predecessors did okay, but then its successor did slightly better. It's something like that. I like play Star Fox Assault to see what it's like. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. I'm done for now. I have nothing else to say. I'm good. I hope you guys I hope you guys like this video. More videos coming on in the future. I have another Star Fox related video that I'm going to talk about revolving around 2 Star Fox characters, and should they be added to the mainline games now? And those videos are coming out. That video's coming out soon. So yeah, I hope you guys like this video. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, and all that jazz. And I got more videos coming out in the future. This is Comrade 64 signing out. Peace out, guys. Mission complete. Take it easy, guys.